The two darlings of DC made their exits on Thursday as Naomi Osaka and Venus Williams bowed out of the DC City Open in straight sets each. I'll discuss their losses, share why I think this could be Emma Raducanu's big chance for a big result, and discuss that whole Tsitsipas Ivanisevic coaching saga. Hello, I'm Christian Bassnight, and welcome to Christian's Court, where I cover tennis from all angles. If you have not yet already, make sure you subscribe and click the notification bell so you are notified whenever I post more tennis content. Now, I gotta start by talking about this Goran Ivanisevic and Stefanos Tsitsipas split because this whole saga over the past few weeks or so has been kind of wild but entertaining nonetheless. Goran just cannot catch a break ever since he parted ways with Novak Djokovic in 2024. His last partnership with Emma Raducanu at the start of this season only lasted 2 tournaments, the United Cup and the Australian Open. And then now this latest gig with Stefanos Tsitsipas has lasted 2 tournaments, Halle and Wimbledon. Stefanos announced the split on Wednesday on his IG story, saying, "Working with Goran Ivanisevic was brief but an intense experience and a truly valuable chapter in my journey. I'm thankful for the time, effort, and energy he dedicated to me and my team." This announcement really was not that surprising because shortly after Tsitsipas was forced to retire from his opening round Wimbledon match due to a back injury, Goran went in on him in an interview with Sport Club. He said, "I've talked to him many times. If he solves some things outside of tennis, then he has a chance and he'll return to where he belongs because he's too good a player to be out of the top 10. He wants to, but he doesn't do anything. All I want, but I don't see any progress." I was shocked. I've never seen a more unprepared player in my life. With this knee, I'm 3 times more prepared than him. This is really bad. Jesus. Judging from Tsitsipas's recent statements to Greek outlet SDNA, those comments from Goran likely caused a rift in their relationship. Steph said, "It is very difficult to have dictators and people who speak negatively and you don't feel like they are close to you like family. Being able to build a family out of this, people who will not only work with you in the tennis part, but will also be your friends after your career, is something that I really want to build." Now, there is a possibility that this relationship between him and Goran soured before Goran even made those statements. If that's not the case, though, I think it was a bad look for Goran to make a statement like that about a player that you're coaching. It's just not something you tell the press, something that you tell Stefanos in private and him and his team only. You don't go and tell the media such things because that can be an ego deflator to Tsitsipas. And clearly Steph felt some way about the comments, and I honestly don't blame him. And he was already seemingly in a dark space around that time because around Wimbledon he said the back injury could force him to retire from tennis altogether a bit earlier than he expected. Really, it just seems like these two were not a good fit at all. Goran seems to be a little bit more intense, and it just was not the right match for Stefanos. Tsitsipas said himself that he wants people he can be comfortable with, which is why he is reportedly bringing his dad back into the mix. I just don't think that Tsitsipas has that dogged mentality right now for real to get over the hump and win a major. You just have to do uncomfortable things if you want to reach those heights. And I do think this was a great opportunity for Stefanos to get back to where he was before, at least, even if he didn't win a slam, maybe return back inside the top 5, because Goran seems to be an amazing coach. But Steph just would rather go back to what he feels is best and what he's more comfortable with. And honestly, I'm not judging him for that. So, yeah, that's his decision to make. I do wonder, and I asked this question on Twitter, who would be the best fit for Goran as far as his next player? I saw a few people say Andrei Rublev. Clearly, a lot of fans are not satisfied with that Rublev-Safin partnership. You also had a lot of people saying Iga Swiatek, and I think those two were in the talks of working with one another, but it didn't work out. Talking about some younger stars, maybe Jakub Mędzik, Flavio Cobolli, maybe even Iva Jovic, perhaps Deanna Stander as well. I don't know if her game would mesh with Goran's coaching style per se, but why not try that out? But anyways, focusing on the action in DC, the big match of the day on Thursday was undoubtedly between Naomi Osaka and Emma Raducanu. And really, I thought it had potential to be like top 10 match of the year at least, especially with how the first few games are going. They're pretty competitive, but Emma kind of ran away with it in the end, taking a comfortable 6-4, 6-2 victory. This one was a tight one for me to call as far as predicting a winner, and I ultimately gave the edge to Naomi because of her hardcourt prowess and comfort, as well as the crowd. I feel like that would get her over the edge. Now, the crowd really wasn't that much of a factor in this match, partly due to it just being during the day, and the daytime crowd, especially on stadium court, isn't as rowdy compared to a nighttime crowd or evening crowd on John Harris court. So I kind of overestimated the crowd factor for sure. I think Naomi played solid in the opening set, all things considered. She just played one sloppy game to get broken, where she hit 2 double faults and 2 unforced errors. She held fine routinely actually in her other service games of the opening set. Osaka though could not make much of an inroads and Raducanu's serve at all for much of the match, and Emma really put in the work on that serve for real in the past, I feel like, few months. As I noticed it in Wimbledon, especially in that match against Aryna Sabalenka, she was serving pretty well. Raducanu saved the 2 break points that she faced this match, and she served at a very high first serve percentage at 68% in, and she was really going up and after that serve too, and she was hitting quality first serves, hitting her spot so well, and oftentimes she was hitting that serve with great pace. She won 74% of her first serve points, and she did pretty well in her second serve points won as well, winning 61% of her second serve points. Raducanu also backed up her serve with strong ground strokes, and she really played first strike tennis, solid first strike tennis, and she was very aggressive, especially off that forehand side, and she was not only aggressive but consistent too, and she said that was a conscious effort for her in her post-match press conference, and was speaking to Tennis Channel about how she knew Naomi would be coming out guns a-blazing, and that Emma made a conscious effort herself of trying to get ahead early on in these rallies, and it worked tremendously well for her today. Naomi had a lot of success behind her first serve. She won 88% of points whenever she landed the first serve. However, she had a low 46% first serve in percentage. Naomi also had poor success behind her second serve at 32% second serve points won. Some of that was due to the quality of Raducanu's returns, but also Naomi's play was just sloppy at some parts, and also the 7 double faults hurt her a lot too. This result mainly just came down to Emma, her superior serving, and her being more consistent yet aggressive. Emma, she finished with 12 winners to 19 unforced errors. Meanwhile, Naomi, she did hit 7 more winners compared to Emma, but she hit double the amount of unforced errors, 38 unforced errors. Emma overall is just more consistent than Naomi, and I think much of that is due to her having a more complete game. Emma is not afraid to throw in a few defensive slices in there as well to change the tempo. Meanwhile, with Naomi, she's just still way too one-dimensional for my taste, and she tries to beat you with pretty much one way, and that's with power and from the ground, and also trying to rely heavily on the serve, but that just does not cut it. It has not cut it this entire comeback. And the thing is, Naomi was not playing like this when she won her last slam, her last title period at the 2021 Australian Open. She had much more margin on her shots, and she was far more consistent, and she also incorporated a lot more angles. But right now, I feel like she's just redlining way too much, and she's also prone to having really bad misses. That's the thing, bad misses and bad parts of the match. Namely, she had a sitter backhand. Emma was all the way running on the opposite direction, but she pushed it long. That was at 5-4, 30 all. And if Naomi made that simple backhand, she would have had a break point. And if Naomi won that first set, the result could have been totally different. She just can't have those misses. And I think the ground game alone for her isn't going to fly. She's got to employ other stuff into her game. And I don't understand why she's not doing it right now. She did it pretty early on in her partnership with Patrick. She was coming into the net a little bit more, also even slicing a little bit more, but we have not seen that at all in DC. We didn't see it at all this tournament. And I will give her grace. This is her first hard court tournament of the summer, and she does have time to improve. She signed up for not only Montreal, but Cincinnati and the Cleveland 250, so maybe that'll be good for her. I do think this was a missed opportunity for Naomi, though, to at least gain some points to put her in position to work to be seeded for the US Open, because the field in Montreal, it's no Toronto. Like, the top players are still going to be there except for Aryna Sabalenka. Same with Cincinnati. It's going to be worse in Cincinnati, and her draw is going to be worse in Cincinnati. So again, missed opportunity for her. And I really do feel like this US Open series, it feels like make or break for her. But on the positive side, Naomi really wasn't beating herself up after the match like she was at Wimbledon. She said that she's okay compared to other matches in the past. And she says that it's because likely that she has a clear plan on what she needs to do. So hopefully that plan unfolds and gives something great for Montreal. Anywho, talking about the legend Venus Williams, her dream comeback in DC came to an end with a 6-2, 6-2 loss to 5th seed Magdalena Frech in the second round. Now, I had hoped that Venus could maybe go 2 for 2, especially when she had a 2-1 lead early on in the opening set, but that was the last lead that Venus had in this match. Frech, I knew it was going to be a challenge for her because she was much more consistent and crafty compared to Peyton Stearns, and she drop-shotted and sliced Venus a lot more here, really testing the 45-year-old's legs, which she should have done. Still, much of this match was in Venus's control, but Venus's forehand, she was a little bit too error-prone from that side tonight, and her serve was also not firing as well as it was against Stearns in the opening round. Still, I think that Venus has so much to be proud of winning a match is huge for her, especially at this stage. Again, not only being 45 years old, but being out of the tour for that long. Her last tournament was March 2024, so walking away with the win over a top 35 player is a win in itself. She also had a nice goodbye moment, kind of taking it all in with the crowd, which we haven't really seen with her ever after a loss. And I do wonder if this summer will be more of a farewell tour for her, and if she'll end things like call it a career at the US Open. She will play Cincinnati at least, so it'll be good to see her there. I will be there, so I'll at least be able to watch her live one more time, and maybe I'll be able to ask her a question. That would be a dream come true of mine, so fingers crossed that that happens. Although the way that she was talking in her press conference, it seemed like she plans on playing another full season, because she said that she's encouraged from this run in DC and that she knows what she needs to work on from here on out, but we'll see what happens. Now, the women's draw in DC is low-key kind of open, and it's a great opportunity, I feel, for all 8 of these solid players. We first have a battle of the lefties up top in the draw between Leylah Fernandez and Taylor Townsend. Leylah, she defeated the top seed Jessica Pegula 6-3, 1-6, 7-5, and this is her first top 5 win since defeating Elena Rybakina in the Western and Southern Open, or Cincinnati Open, last year. Now, for Pegula, this is her second straight loss, as she also lost in the opening round of Wimbledon to Cocchiaretto, and this wasn't a good result for her because she's defending a lot of points in her next 3 tournaments. She won Toronto, or won the Canadian Open. She made the finals of Cincy and the US Open, so there's a lot riding on her for the next month or so. Townsend, meanwhile, she defeated fellow American Sofia Kenin 6-3, 6-love, and this will be her first singles quarterfinal since Toronto, so excellent for her. And this is also a revenge win for Taylor, considering how Sofia beat her in the opening round of Wimbledon this year. And what's striking is that Townsend hit 17 aces in this match, 12 of which came in the opening set, and according to Tennis Channel, that was a record-tying number of aces for a single set alone. So props to Taylor for that. But Kenin, she does have a reputation of letting a lot of aces go by her, so she's got to fix that issue for sure. The only all-seeded matchup here in the quarterfinals is between Elena Rybakina and Magdalena Frech. By the way, Rybakina is still alive in doubles with Emma Raducanu as they're in the semifinals, so shout out to them. Then you have Anna Kalinskaya and Clara Tauson. Feel bad for the ball in that match because both of those women are big hitters. And then you have Emma Raducanu, she takes on Maria Sakkari. Emma will be the favorite, mainly because of her 3-0 head-to-head advantage over the Greek woman, as she also has never lost a set to Sakkari. But we'll see if Sakkari can get her home court advantage going, because she lives in DC, I believe. And 2, she just got a great win over Emma Navarro in the round prior. Looking at the men's draw, top seed Taylor Fritz will take on Spaniard Alejandro Davidovich Fokina. Fritz, he won their last meeting at Wimbledon, actually, in the 3rd round. However, the last time they played on a U.S. hard court, Alejandro got the win. That was in Delray. Now, Shelton and Tiafoe it honestly might be the matchup of the entire tournament. They face off in the quarterfinals. They both dominated their opponents in Gabriel Diallo and Flavio Cobolli, respectively. They only dropped 5 games each. That was kind of surprising because both those guys have been playing well lately, so props to them on getting those impressive wins. I feel like I might give Ben the slight edge. I think that while Tiafoe, he has the home crowd advantage, it won't be as much for him, considering how Ben is also American and he's a crowd favorite wherever he goes, I feel. And also his serve and forehand were just money today. So I don't know. I think it'll be tight regardless, but again, I'll give Shelton the edge. Then you have Daniil Medvedev. He's looking to end his title draw once and for all. He has a solid shot, although you cannot count out Corentin Moutet, despite him being a lucky loser. He just got a solid win over Dan Evans. And then last but not least, you have Alex de Minaur taking on American Brandon Nakashima. That's all I have for this one. Let me know your thoughts on that Steph and Goran split. Do you think Goran was out of pocket for what he said? And do you think that Stefanos will be successful with his Papa Apostolos again? And also comment below who you think would be a good fit for Goran in his next coaching venture. And also let me know whether you think this would be Raducanu's time to actually win a title after that US Open triumph. Again, make sure you all subscribe and click the notification bell so you are notified whenever I post my next video. Thank you all so much for watching and for your support, and I will see you all next time here on Christian's Court.